Hey guys, how are y'all doing? Today I'm going to be installing this camshaft into this 5.3 liter. This here is the cam I got. It's a Summit 8712, and here's the specs. Give you a close-up on that if you want to pause the video and check it out. This was actually suggested by one of my subscribers, Eric Ernst. I believe that's how you say his last name. If not, sorry. But this was one that was actually suggested by him, and I looked into it a little further. It seemed like a good cam for my swap here. It's basically a stage 1 truck cam, so it's a little bit more than stock, but it's not big enough where it's going to affect the drivability. And this is going to be a daily driver. As you guys may already know, I drove it quite a bit last summer, and it's going to stay that way. It's going to be a daily driver, not a race truck. But when I get the thing properly tuned, this cam should give me about 40 more horsepower, 40 to 50 more horsepower. And supposedly when you turn down the idle, you can hear a little bit of a lope, so that'll be cool. Cool little bonus, but it's nothing crazy, and it's going to be a whole lot better than what was in there. I'll give you a little close-up comparison here. You can see that's the new cam. There's definitely a difference there. And if you watch my previous video of tearing this engine apart, I showed this lobe, which is wiped out. You can see it's actually got weird grooves worn down into it, or a weird groove. Earlier, last few weeks actually, since Thanksgiving, I've been working at cleaning this engine. Basically, almost every night I came home from work. I've been buying lots and lots of this parts cleaner, which is something I cheap out on, like a lot of things, but this is something I cheap out on because it's basically the same as any, it works the same as any name brand stuff. So I've been getting a lot of that and spraying out all the oil passages, hosing it down with air, and making sure everything's good and clean, and just spraying it until the parts cleaner comes out nice and clean. And I got it really clean. You can see all of the sludge and oil deposits and everything has been cleaned off. Now some subscribers were wondering why I didn't just take it to the machine shop and have them hot tank it. I'm trying to do this as cheap as possible, and I feel like that was something I could do myself. And I know it would only be like $100 to have them do that, but $100 is $100, and that money can go toward parts for this when I can do the cleaning myself. I looked over my cam bearings. They all look really good. You can make things worse sometimes by replacing these. Gotta use the hand gestures, you know. But anyway, you can make things worse by replacing them. You can actually, you know, if you put one in, it might not be in there seated properly and then spin, or you might have too tight of a clearance there if you don't line hone it and whatever. But you can see, I'll give you a close-up. You can see some evidence of them line honing it here. And most people would freak out at that. On most other engines, if you see copper showing through like that, that's really not a good thing. But on these engines, it looks like this when they put it together at the factory, because after they line hone it, you see that copper showing through. So I'm not messing with these, leaving them right in there. Not many people replace them, especially if they look good. This engine had really good oil pressure, so I'm not worried about it. I had like 60 psi at idle, cold idle, and then when it was at a warm idle, I had like 25, 30 psi. So really not worried about it. I feel like I would make it worse if I tried replacing them. So enough running my mouth. I'm gonna get that cam cleaned really well with a lint-free rag, and get these bearings cleaned with the lint-free rag as well. And then I'm gonna go ahead and lube it really well with this assembly lube, which I heard is good stuff. So let's get to it. Alright guys, so now what I'm doing is cleaning the cam, and basically I'm just going over it and cleaning it until I sprayed it down with brake cleaner, and I'm just cleaning it until there's no discoloration on the cloth here. And I'm going to do the same thing with the bearings, and then I'll lube it up really good. Got the heater going. Ah, that feels good. That was given to me by Jimmy over at Channel CGE. I'm liking it already. I've only been using it for 5 minutes. Really puts out some good heat. It needs a good cleaning and stuff, and I think it needs a new thermal switch, so that's no big deal. Replace that and it'll probably stay running. Awesome to have. All these years working in the garage and never had one of those. But yeah, I'm still getting a lot of dirt or whatever, grease, oil, whatever it may be. So I'm just kind of cleaning it. It's probably unnecessary really, but I just want it to be super clean. I mean, if you think about it, people replace the cams when they're in the vehicle, so you can't clean the bearings when it's in the vehicle, so I should be fine. But my OCD is kicking in, you know. It's all good and clean. Wait, that's the wrong camshaft. No, let's not put that one back in. Okay, it's pretty thick. It's not bad. I've used some of this stuff before, but never this brand. This is supposed to be one of the best. I mean, this little container was like $15, so it should be good, I hope, for that price. And I'm just I'll do half of it at a time. Spread it all around really good. Alright guys, so now we're going to put it in, and so I make sure I'm putting it in the right way. Yep. So you can see I got a liberal amount of assembly lube on there, and I could always put some on the lifters too if I feel like I want to. I'm just going to carefully put it in, not force it. Feels really good so far. I'm gonna support the back of it here, since I can. You wouldn't be able to do that if it was in the vehicle. You'd have to put a Volta installer, which is basically just a rod on the front of the cam, and guide it in. There we go. Beautiful. Alright, so I'm gonna talk about this real quick. This is your cam retaining plate for the front of the motor engine, and that seals some oil gallery in the front. That's an impregnated gasket so you can't replace it. You got to replace the entire plate if you're going to replace it. And so if there's like any sign of damage on that gasket, you replace it. This one looks to be in really good shape. There's no damage whatsoever. It's in really good shape. So I'm going to put it back on there. I'm going to clean the surface one more time, make sure it's good. And then these bolts are torqued to 18 foot-pounds. Alright, I got my torque wrench locked in at 18 foot-pounds. I'm going to go here to the front of the engine and torque them down. Click. It's not very much at all. Gonna kind of go in a star pattern here. Just like that. That's all there is to it. With my OCD, I shouldn't joke around about it, but I probably really do have OCD. I like to go through and just double check, make sure everything's good. Hear it click a second time, but don't go further. Just hear it click, and that's all there is to it, I guess. So thank you guys for watching this video, and stay tuned as I continue building this 5.3. Alright guys, I forgot one more step though, which is super important, I think, especially if you're working in the garage and creating dust. So put a contractor bag over the engine so that no dust gets down in there. Tuck it in like that, and then it'll be ready for the next night that I work on it, and it'll be nice and clean, because I definitely don't want dust settling on that assembly lube and getting all dirty.